let's think about this issue that I have been faced many times with the question when I started talking about culture. They said, well, I mean, what kind of thing do you want me to say? I am white, I am North American, I don't think I have a culture. Culture is what all the people have. The Latinos have a culture, the African Americans have a culture. And so I have had to explain that actually, culture is an outlook at life. Culture is what we share with a group. And the group that shares a culture shares some of the characteristics that are mentioned here. It's either language or gender or religion or social class or ableness or age or sexual preference or nationality and sometimes even locality. So those are some of the possible commonalities of a culture. And just one of the things, and each of us in the board have a rebel cause. So you are going to be hearing from me the rebel cause about language. And it's not nice, in case you have not been, down on the head with this issue and that issue and this other, now I am going to talk about what happens with language. And yes, when a group has a common way of perceiving the world and as such to write laws and history, there is value that is attached to that. And that value to future generation is on educating them in more than just one language, in their heritage language, but actually, what are we going to gain by, teaching more languages? Isn't everybody learning English? So what is the value here of insisting on spending lots and lots of money on bilingual education in two-way bilingual courses? What is the value? Well, let me talk about value is the history and culture of its speakers. And there are about 7,000 languages spoken today in the world. Those languages are Mandarin, 900 have it as a first language, 190 as a second, and a total of 1,090. Well, that is not strange. There are so many native speakers, But look at English. English is spoken by 359 million people as native speakers, first language, and look at the 603 million that speak English as a second language. Of course, part of that is because of the British Empire and India and Pakistan and all of that then had that language. But Spanish also had an empire. I'm sorry, yeah. And however, look, it has 430 million more as a first language than English. However, only 91 million as a second language. And that is a difference with English, which is telling us that everybody is learning that second language. However, look at these numbers, and this is where my passion and my pain and my pride is hurt. 639 languages have been lost in the last 50 years. One language every 3 months. 457 languages have fewer than 10 speakers. And 3,176 languages can be considered endangered. Now, who are the people that speak those languages? And why is language loss happening? Well, language is at the core of a culture. Si ustedes me quitan a mí el español, me quitan mi vida. If you take Spanish out of me, you take my life, Culture involves the rights of people. A language is the right of the core and the heart and the way of seeing the world of the people. So, the rights of half the population of the planet have been ignored, violated, undermined, and eliminated. I hope I have made that clear. Parents, and this is where it hurts, parents are not given clear information of the detrimental effects for their children of losing their first language. How many times do I visit a school and then the mother comes and says, my baby at 5 has come home after preschool or kindergarten. Ay, no quiere hablar español. He doesn't want to speak Spanish. What does that mean? The whole atmosphere where he is at is undermining the value of his language, and he feels ashamed of it, and then he auto-eliminates that language in within. So I have determined, tweet that. I have determined that nobody can make that decision until they have voting age. What is this that a 5-year-old comes and says, I am not going to speak the language of my parents? I mean, come on. Until you can vote, you cannot choose what language you're going to be talking. Full stop, you know. The other thing is that why do schools don't give a chance or don't offer as an option to their kids to learn math or geography or mathematics, but they say you have the chance of speaking or not. And yes, this is the United States. Yes, the official language is English, but every country educated in the world speaks 2 languages, and sometimes 3, sometimes 4. And not only it is good if we really want to make friends in the world, we better speak more than one language, especially in business, because while you are speaking in English and they know your language, they can be cheating you in their own language, you know, and saying, este no se entera, así que, you know, you have to, only from that point of view. And this is true, they have made studies of Alzheimer's, and people with more than 2 languages have fewer incidents of Alzheimer's disease. So I think I am saved. At least until 70 I am. I don't know what is going to happen after, but anyhow. And what is the difference between a Latino who speaks only English and a Latino, or only Spanish, for that case, and a Latino fluent in both languages? And Latino, you must understand, that is not a Latin American. In Latin America, they are Argentinians, Venezuelans, Costa Ricans, Colombians, or, you know, or Brasileños, you know. We, in the United States, are Latinos, and we all have 21 cultures together, and the you know, capacity to create. Actually, this is what is happening, creating a new culture, a culture that is the group culture of the 21 countries. And now, imagine that all that clear blue in the bottom, all of those are, with all my respects and my adoration and my humble admiration, they are all the majority of teachers in this country. White, Anglo-Saxon, English-speaking women. Our schools don't have that percentage of children that clearly. Our schools are precisely the contrary. You know those other darker lines up there? Those are the other minority teachers that are in schools. So if the majority of the students are minority and the majority of the teachers are majority, we need bridges of some kind. And I don't know if as big as the one in my city of the Golden Gate or shorter than that, but we need bridges, and we need to have allies. Allies in which we understand our heart from here to there. This is not to fight whose language is going to be spoken or how many millions are going to be spent. It's how do we solve the problem in which we are? And it is a big one. And teachers say, I don't know how to teach these children. I don't know their language. And then we have to start thinking about how to reorganize. How are we going to solve it? Demand that libraries have diverse books. I go to schools in Southern California with 90% of Latino students, and they have 1% of Latino books. It is true that there are only 1.7 authors of Latino books. Me. In this country, you know, and out of the 3,400 books that were received in the Center for Children's Books in Madison, of those 3,400, only 1.7 were written by Latinos. So we have a long way to go. And so a little bit more about Latinos by Anglo writers. But we don't make more than 3.5 in total. But if apart from that very, very low number, we don't even have them in the libraries, then we are in trouble. We are in deep trouble, I guess. You have to buy my books. Come on, in all of your schools. So educate teachers on available titles in the diverse languages and cultures. There is a whole movement that is starting 2014. We need diverse books. Probably you have heard about it. And it's a movement that comes and goes, and yes, we need diverse books. And then the teachers say, well, there aren't any. Well, there are. There are. Not very many, but there are. Or establish think tanks to find ways to reach and educate parents. Because if we can count with the parent, if we can tell the parent their strength and the fortitude and the incredible help that they can do with their children, then we have half of the way, as it has been said here today. And then act on what we believe is best. Nothing is too small to start a transformation. I would say a revolution, but let's be good and say transformation. Yes, let's do that. And yes, the best thing on this would be that if a society only has one color, one language, and one possibility, we will not have the enormous creativity that multiple colors, ways of thinking and sensing life can bring. So let's all join the beautiful rainbow of colors. American Reading Company, it is one that has led the way in that way of thinking and feeling and proposing and providing books from all of us. So thank you very much for your time, and bravo.